Yes, 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 t.real beats back on your screens to make some banging beats. So for in this video, I'm going to show you how I make some trap beats in the style of ATL Jacob and Southside. I'm going to show you how I use some one shots to make some crazy ambient vibes. So I'm not going to waste no more time. Let's get straight into the video. Come on, let's go. Yes. So, as you can see, I got my session of Beatmaker 3 loaded up. The main source, which kind of starts off this whole beat, is the one shot that I've used. And this is a one shot that's inside the kind of pad that I'm working on. And it's all in the style of them dark, mysterious type of pad sounds, accents. And this is something that's really gave the beat some source. So this is the ambient key that I've been working on. So this is kind of like a space ambient. I call it cosmic. And so this is the main melody. So as you can hear it in its C3. And I go up the scales. So it's that high endness that gives it that kind of graininess. So this is the normal sound, and this is what it sounds like reversed. So it gives it that kind of nice swelling effect. So let me show you some of the one shots I've been working on. So all of them kind of like light padded ambient key vibes. So can you hear that grain effect? That grain effect's kind of what gives it that ambient, dark, gloomy, mysterious kind of vibes. Some crazy one shots in here. So this is one from the pack. So to give it that elements, there's crazy things you can do with one shots. You know, you could time stretch them, you could add more effects on top of them, play with the polyphony with it so you can arrange it over course of different octaves. So for this one here, I just simply reversed it. For the first part, I started off in a B minor chord. So I've got my one shot and then I turn up the polyphony so you can play multiple notes, and this is what it sounds like all together. Yeah, that little glisten at the end. So for the effects on that, I added in some flux Midi 2, so that gives it that tremolo effect. So I got this on the 8th sync, so it's going pretty quick. And I turn the mix down to 60% because you don't want it sounding too choppy. So you want to hear some of the actual vibes coming through, so I turn it up to 60. So this is what it would have sounded like if I had it on 100% mix. But when I turn it down to 60, so you've got that subtle tremolo vibe going in the background, but it's not taken over, so it's not too much. So it's a perfect blend. So the main source, what gives it that kind of grainy effect, you know, that ambient glisten that's in the background that comes in and out, is crystals. So I think I've nearly nailed it to get some similar Portal preset vibes within the iPad. I find that these cluster of effects together, or these cluster of AU3s, gives it that similar type of vibe. And this is the normal default effect. And I added in a half time as well. So the half time on normal default settings. So that just gives it a little bit more low end and kind of gives it that gliding swelling effect. So without the half time, it will sound like this. So it's a little bit too ringy. I find it a bit too ringy anyway. So with the half time in there, perfect. And so for the second part of the melody, I just pitched it down a whole octave. Let's listen to what that sounds like. exact same effects that I had on the higher melody part. So with it pitched down, just gives it more of that mysterious tone. And so for the second part of the melody, I just added in these accents here. For these kind of like ATL Jacob Southside type beats, you know, you always got those accents that go, you know, in the background with the main melody. And it's normally kind of like little triplet or kind of like repetitive notes in the background. And it's those repetitive notes that kind of just give it that vibe and that bounce. So this is what this sounds like. So that's kind of like subtly in the background. And for the effects on here, I just added in a single value filter. This kind of acts as a high pass and kind of cuts out a lot of the low end. So that leaves a nice bit of room for the frequencies of the low end to shine through, 808s and everything like that. And I just added a tape cassette. It's like a RC20. So that gives it that kind of vinyl feel. So for the next part of the actual beat, I added in some low end here of the piano. So we're in B minor. So I started off with a root note and spent down 5 semitones. So let's have a little listen to see kind of what the lower part of the melody sounds like with the piano accents and with some kind of like a bass line for the low end. So for the fourth part, I went into world synth, which is perfect for all types of sounds. I've used it in a lot of my videos. I think this is a perfect go-to for any of the kind of like woodwind sounds, brass, pianos, literally everything. And I added in kind of like a cinematic cello. It just gives it a nice little element. Just some kind of like orchestral ambience in the background as well. So let's hear that played together. So for the effects on that, very simple, some reverb just to give it a bit of ambience and space within the mix. And with the Blias delay, I'm loving the Blias apps, you know, they're very simple, very intuitive. And I put it on the fourth sync and also added in the ping pongs with the delay. It goes from left to right on the headphones, which is just a nice ambient effect, which kind of ties everything together. And so with these ATL Jacob type beats in Southside, there's always some form of other accents. And with this, I added in kind of like a little vox. So that just gives it a more ambience in the background as well, just to give it that mysterious vibe as well. So let's hear what that sounds like. May sound like random noises, but with everything together and with the composition, and it just glues everything together really nicely. So I'm just going to play the kind of the low melody that I made out of the one shot and then add in the different elements, and then you can hear how it ties in together. So I think the main formula is just coming up with an ambient repetitive melody and choosing a different sound within the kind of like the higher frequencies, and then doing a repetitive sound with the pianos and then adding something within the low end. So let's just play it and let's hear it all together. Turn it up a bit. So for the last thing to kind of tie everything together, just a kind of like a little respace, something in the background, like a one-shot bass, just to give it that bit more of a kind of oomph. Let's get into the drum breakdown. Most of the drum sounds in here as part of my realist drum kit, volume 1. I've been working on volume 2, so some sounds in there, so I'll highlight those ones. So what I've got here is a snare on every half bar, and I've got a little counter snare going on here as well. These are all from my realist drum kit, volume 1. So what I like to add in is a nice little snare roll, because within these ATL Jacob Southside type beats, you know, at the end of every kind of like 8 or 16 bar, you got a little nice little snare roll just to give it some bounce before it goes back into like the next part of the beat. So the way that I made this is going into the triplet section and then going into the 132 bar and then literally drawing out some of the rolls. So start off a little hit, a little roll, hit again, and then some finishing notes right here. So this is literally how I kind of go about making the snare rolls. Playing with the velocities is going to give it that nice little bounce. What really helped me master these snare rolls is literally changing it from within the normal grid to the triplet grid. And this then literally opened up the world of kind of like rolls. You can use the same thing for hi-hat rolls, same thing for 808 rolls. It's the same theory, but just go into the 1/3 step or the triplet mode within whatever DAW you're using, and it will literally just become a lot easier. So I just got a very simple hi-hat bounce going in the background here. And added in a different hi-hat just to give it some rolls and a little bit more accents and kind of bounce within the beat. Here you can just see me playing with the velocities here. So one normal, a little bit lower just to give it that little nice bounce. Same here, one at a normal velocity and then kind of doing a little roll off at the end here. So I added in an open hat here. And then for this part, just a little perk accent that I added in. You might have heard it in a lot of those trap sounds. So that added in. All this is going to be in a drum kit as well. So to tie everything together, it's the 808s, and this 808 is part of my new trap pack that I'm working on. Called it Move Faster, so it's a strong one. So what you find on these ATL Jacob Southside beats, it's just a hard hitting 808 within the same similar kind of notes, maybe going up a note a bit, but you just hear it just hitting within the same kind of zone right here. So let's have a little listen to that. So for the second part, I added in the same pattern, but I just added a nice little 808 roll here. So this is kind of like a fade in roll right here. You can see it fades in with the roll, and I just play with the velocities again, and playing with the velocities and 808s just gives it that bounce. And so for this here, I got it in a triplet. Again, the triplet roll, it literally it's a cheat code. So I did a roll and then I just went in with kind of descending 808s, and it's playing with the velocities there. So that's what gives it that bounce. So let's hear it. And last thing here is another kick. This is part of my new trap kit as well. It's called Ton. It just has that certain frequency within the low end which just goes with the 808s. So let's listen to that all together. This one here is just another filler-in kick just to kind of add in within the beat, just to give it some variation or just extra hardness. So last but not least, a nice little riser just to tie it all in together. So that's it. Just a crazy melody just made out of a one shot. You know what's crazy? That beat, the whole vibe all started off with a one shot, and doesn't really sound like anything, but reversed it. And now just add some effects onto it. These three effects here. So yeah, that's it for the beat right here. Just a hard trap beat in the style of ATL Jacob and Southside. And if you're liking the content, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and stay tuned for the next video. Peace.